Welcome back. More now on this big story out of China. The country raising its benchmark interest rates for the first time since 2007 in a move to stomp out inflation, or the worries that it might rear its head. The move comes on the eve of a G20 summit in South Korea, where currency valuations will certainly be top of the agenda. Charlene Barshefsky knows a thing or two about trade and currency. She has served as the U.S. Trade Representative from 1997 through 2001, and this is key, helped negotiate China's entrance into the World Trade Organization. She joins me this morning from Washington. Good morning to you, Charlene. Not to oversimplify it, but it's certainly the term that gets thrown around. Do you see a currency war underway? And at this point, are you worried about a real trade war showdown between the United States and China?
I think it's too early to think that there will be a currency war. I don't think that's in any country's interest. What is in the interest of countries is to rectify the large global imbalances that have occurred, and that will necessitate an increase in China's currency, an appreciation of China's currency. It has begun to appreciate its currency slowly over the last 3 or 4 weeks as a run-up to the G20. And I think at the G20, it'll be very important for countries to hit this issue head-on and very tough so that we can begin to see the world economy rebalance in a direction that is much more sustainable for growth.
What do you think is a reasonable request to issue to China in terms of appreciation? I mean, you've heard from Wen Jiabao and others who say 20% appreciation in 1 year's time just is not good for anyone because of potential implications for stability of the country. You talk to those who do business in China and they say 5 to 10% appreciation could possibly be reasonable. What can China do that won't have it go down the path of an Indonesia or another country like that?
I think what Wen was signaling is that any very sharp, rapid, and substantial appreciation of the Chinese currency would be of serious concern to the Chinese leadership, would hit job growth, would hit manufacturing in a way that China can ill afford, given its focus on internal stability. But if you had a steady, moderate appreciation over a given time frame, it seems to me that that allows China time to adjust to those changes in the exchange rate and runs much less risk of distorting other aspects of its economy. The other important point, of course, is that if China were to appreciate its currency further, that's like giving the folks back home an instant pay increase. That will help increase consumption at home in China, which is another point of U.S. and global policy. That is to say, for China to reduce exports, as might happen if its currency rises, and to increase consumption, which would also happen if its currency rose. So there's a double positive effect for the global economy and a positive effect for China's own growth into the future, which is more consumption-based.
The U.S. last labeled China a currency manipulator back in 1994. Theoretically, what would be the value in doing that again?
I think there's relatively little value in doing that again. The reason that you've seen so little call for currency manipulation findings against China in the intervening years is, first of all, it did let its currency appreciate about 20% against the dollar over that time. But in addition, there is nothing particular to be gained by embarrassing or labeling countries in an adverse or adversarial way. And certainly that strategy has never worked particularly well with China. The USTR agency you formerly worked with did announce that it's investigating Chinese subsidies of some green energy projects, particularly, wind and solar properties there. What do you think of this complaint at the level it is right now? Because it did spark a big reaction from Chinese economic officials. It's no surprise that it sparked a reaction, but the reaction is overdone, overstated, over-dramatized. What USTR is doing is looking at a complaint that was filed by U.S. industry with respect to alleged subsidy practices by the Chinese in clean tech. The U.S. will investigate it. If it believes that the petition actually does state a claim, it could very well bring a case against China in the WTO. This is the ordinary course. It's the way major trading partners handle their disputes. And I think any attempts to dissuade the U.S. from availing itself of its rights in the WTO will prove quite futile.
Oh, it's an interesting complaint, Charlene. We're going to have to follow up on it. Thank you very much for joining us.